There was a big fight over whether certain jury instructions that were asked for by Judge Cannon, because she wanted to get a feel for where the parties were in the matter, how they might read as it relates to the Presidential Records Act. And of course, the left went crazy because that seemed to suggest that Judge Cannon was willing to at least let a jury decide if the Presidential Records Act exonerated and vindicated President Trump. And so in response to that, Judge Jack Smith's legal team, Justice Department attorneys working for you and me, the federal taxpayer, went ballistic and filed an hysterical brief that focuses its attacks on Judicial Watch and me. The president of Judicial Watch posted the following two statements on Twitter, and there's all my tweets, so my tweets are now part of the record. It's easier for me to read the screen than my... Fact check. The left media is being dishonest about the Trump records issue. A president has discretion on what documents to retain as presidential records while in office, so the law allows Trump to tear up documents, shred them, and take documents when he left the White House. And I think the stories at the time talked about him tearing, they were going crazy because he supposedly, or he was alleged to have torn documents up and put them in the toilet. Fun story. Judicial Watch sued over Bill Clinton's hiding records in his sock drawer. And I've told you about that case before. Court told us to pound sand because presidents essentially can do whatever they want with their records. Remember this when you hear anti-Trump media caterwauling about his tearing up documents. Those are two pretty good tweets, I think. And have held up well, don't you think? They've held up well over time. Immediately after posting the second tweet, the Judicial Watch president sent to an employee in Trump's post-presidency office a link to the tweet and offered to discuss the issue with Trump. A few hours later, the Judicial Watch president sent the same person his analysis of the case Judicial Watch versus NARA, which is the sock drawer case. That evening, the Judicial Watch president circulated to the employee a proposed public statement for Trump's consideration, which included language that the PRA, the Presidential Records Act, and judicial decisions gave Trump the right to keep the documents he returned to the National Archives. The statement never issued. And then furthermore, around the same time, the Judicial Watch president, who was not an attorney, I mean, this is like an MSNBC Rachel Maddow opening, right? Maddow, excuse me. Told another Trump employee that Trump was being given bad advice and that the records Trump possessed at Mar-a-Lago should have been characterized as personal. The second employee advised the Judicial Watch president that they disagreed with the Judicial Watch president's analysis. In Judicial Watch, referencing the sock drawer case, former President Clinton had made the designation of certain records personal while president, whereas Trump had not done so. The second employee further informed Trump that the Judicial Watch president was wrong and explained why. Nevertheless, on February 10th, 2022, Trump released a statement claiming, in part, "I've been told I was under no obligation to give the material based on various legal rulings that had been made over the years." Before this time, the second employee had never heard this theory from Trump. No other witnesses recalled Trump espousing the theory until after the Judicial Watch president conveyed it to him in February of 2022. Well, there you have it. This, to me, is a signal that I've completely broken the Justice Department and Jack Smith. They don't know what to do with what we've said. Our truth-telling has broken them. And the media, of course, went crazy as well. I had this tweet earlier. The Daily Beast, which is like a really nasty left-wing publication. But it's indicative of the way the media and the left has been reacting to Smith's histrionic brief. What did I say? What was the? Do you have the tweet? I have seen how simultaneously broken the Biden Justice Department, Jack Smith, and the left media and their left media minions. This is a quote from the Daily Beast. That theory, which is the Presidential Records Act theory, of course, I'm talking about a decision by a federal court. It's not me. Started with Tom Fitton, the muscle-bound activist who isn't a lawyer but successfully takes on high-profile legal fights through his nonprofit, Judicial Watch. Well, at least they said I'm successfully taking on legal fights, right? Again, you know, the weird focus on my personal appearance, the weird focus by Jack Smith that I'm, quote, not an attorney. You don't have to be an attorney to recognize what a case is about. This sort of hysterical, crazed depiction tells you why Smith hates me and hates Judicial Watch, hates our guts, as we say in the title here, and why I was harassed by Smith and the Biden Justice Department with a grand jury subpoena and being forced to testify before a grand jury, and while Judicial Watch was harassed with a grand jury subpoena as well that required documents be turned over. Because Judicial Watch, aside from anything I may or said to the president or anyone else at Mar-a-Lago, this is our public position, as you saw in those tweets. What they were doing to Trump was a sham. Under prior precedent, the Clinton sock drawer case, argued by the same Justice Department, they said the left-wing jurist up here, left-wing court, found in favor of the Justice Department and archives, and no one could second-guess the president's decisions as to which were presidential records and which were personal. And that if he had records, including classified records, after he left office from his days in the White House, they were presumptively personal. And that's why they're harassing us. That's why they're abusing us. Because we blew the whistle based on these public reports, and I've been public ever since, that they did a 180 to target Trump.